Hey, what's up, guys? Good morning. Another requested video from the Beyond Human chat group on Telegram. Definitely recommend joining it if you're interested in this stuff. That way you can just, request a video, ask questions directly. So ultimately, this is accessing your higher self for experimentation. Because the question in the group was they wanted to know how to, let's see here, I'll get the exact wording of it. Tap into our soul's power to take almost elementary level control of our reality. And so I think if you're going to go on this path, I think this is the way you should go, right? Accessing your higher self, because no one can really truly guide you but yourself, right? Into the further planes of this crazy existence. Like, if you want to, learn telepathy, or whatever your goal is with this, I believe the best way to do it is to engage your higher self, so that you can find the best or easiest path, because it's part of life, and life always takes the path of least resistance. Remember that. It's key to understanding a lot of these future concepts. So let's take a look at introduction. So for those on the spiritual master path, I think this video will help you understand the best way to begin to control your reality. Ultimately, when you're controlling your reality, it's your reality and no one else's. So, don't try to don't meddle in other people's life. You're ultimately going to send yourself into a spiral, into quote unquote destruction magic, which is like a lot of the darker occult themes that apply here. Like I said, this is a lot of occult science that I've broken down and I reimagined the occult science in the form of attributing it to just a non-destructive force, which I later understand as destruction magic, chaos magic, and creation magic, the three magics of the universe. And magic is just a word I use to describe the unknown, just like I would say God describes the unknown, or God describes an array of systems that we live under, right, that are just the laws of the universe. And all these laws of the universe apply throughout your existence on every plane. So accessing your higher plane of intuition, or whatever it is that we have in our bodies, whether it's our subconscious mind or our spiritual self, whatever it is, you can experiment with it and see proof in your own life that it is in fact real, and there's nothing paranormal about it. It's simple laws of the universe combined with thinking. So after this video, your higher self kind of is going to become the teacher if you choose to go ahead and dig into this, and ultimately it's going to be a learning experience that's unique to you, and a learning experience that is going to be translatable as well. But don't be afraid to have someone that is more experienced help you with this, because this is a crazy process. So I use a lot of examples from holy texts, because most of these processes are explained in them, which goes back to another belief of mine, that all of the religious texts are simply just a codex or collection of our consciousness. That it's our consciousness history. It's not like not necessarily a controlling mechanism. It's a history of our consciousness, and we can learn a lot from it. So your particular journey can go different ways. You can do blind faith, the scientific method, self-mastery. I chose self-mastery because I dealt with a lot of mental illness, and mental illness it confuses your signals. When you have a mental illness like anxiety, depression, any mental illness, it excuse me, it will confuse your signals, and confusing your signals could mean you die. You don't want to be one of those preachers who goes out and tries to, I'm a messenger of God and God will protect me when I go over here and wrestle this alligator. Oh, no, right? There's nothing in any of the rules of, there's nothing in any of the rules that state that this will happen until after you've kind of really mastered it. And that's the thing, is these people think they've mastered it, and they go out there and they try these feats, right? They try these feats of faith, and they fail and die, right? And you don't want to do that. You don't want to fail and die, right? So you want to understand that this is a slow process, right? You're not going to, attain any superhuman abilities that you can, show anybody for a very long time, right? But you will see how you can begin to create your own reality, which will then lead you down the path of, perhaps experimenting with telekinesis or remote viewing, any of those, quote unquote paranormal things that you may read about or see in, on YouTube or anything like that. So, so the blind faith, I understand that now that I understand the importance of faith. I think that I misspelled moderately, moderately mentally healthy. If you're mentally healthy, right, you can kind of start this process on blind faith until you get to points where you think you're being asked to do something crazy, or things that you don't quite understand, right? And that's where more learning comes into play. So the more read, really familiarize yourself with, Lao Tzu. I would, keep a Bible, keep a Quran, get a copy of all the holy books you can, because you'll be able to your higher self will show you things in these books, and your intuition will lead you to things that will help you learn and help you develop your senses. Scientific method, set your constants, understand your variables, understand a basic level of quantum mechanics. It's a slow process if you don't incorporate the spiritual aspect, but you can still see the results, because I don't think you need to really, embrace the spiritual aspect to see the results of creating your own reality, right? You don't have to be a spiritual guru, you don't have to be a spiritual master to necessarily start this. Right? Now, if you want to be a spiritual master, it gets really hard and really tough and really draining and really emotionally but it's worth it, I think, because I can help people attain these levels, right? I take my process slower because of my history with mental illness. I don't want to become one of those pastors who jumps out and I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna go to the Grand Canyon this weekend and jump off because I've attained the vibrational frequency of flight. Right now, I'm not gonna do that. Hopefully, but that's the thing, is the scientific method where if you really buckle down and treat it as a science instead of a faith, you'll see the same results, right? But you can also see it as faith. Right, so that's the fun part of merging science with religion, is with consciousness. So we're in a very, very, very fun time in our history. Again, because it's loops. How did we do all these great things, thousands and thousands of years ago, like the pyramids, like Göbekli Tepe, like all these monolithic structures and all these great works of art and all this. We did it because we lived in harmony with the earth, right? We don't live in harmony with the earth anymore. So, and that means we don't live in harmony with ourselves. So the more harmony that you can create, the better this journey will be. So the process essentially is first ascension. So you're going to ascend your level of consciousness, your thinking. You ascend your level of consciousness to the top, right? And that's just a process of elevating your mind, your awareness, understanding what is and what isn't possible, and really living life according to the laws of, quote unquote God's laws, right? God's laws. It's like these cosmological constants, these universal laws that we all are subject to, right? Not not, not the Ten Commandments, not not all that other mumbo jumbo that's added on top of being a human. So you're going to have to take ultimately all this human experience and raise above the human experience. And you can do this in a lot of different ways, right? There's a lot of different ways to attain the ascension process. You can ultimately, focus on being an altruistic person, and then you'll learn, to. It's one of those things where it's going to be personal. Like, I don't know how you live your life, so I won't know the best way to tell you, this is the best way to ascend. If I knew how you lived your life, I could say, okay, here's where you can go ascend. Here's some opportunities for ascension, right? But I don't know how you live your life, so you have to hone in your intuition. Like, I made another video. Go check out the video on intuition. Hone your intuition, and let your higher self guide you. If you don't have someone you can reach out to, join the chat group. I'll be more than happy to help you. But ultimately, when you ascend, you do run a risk of activating a loop in your brain that could ultimately lead to your death or destruction, because you want to interpret those signals, kind of like what I was saying earlier. So once you ascend, you can stay there and kind of, enjoy life, because you can start to really create your own reality with, as an ascended human, right? As an ascended human, you can create your own reality as far as, like, create opportunities, take advantage of creative inspirations. There's a lot of things you can do as an ascended human. Now, descension, the descent, to descend, what I mean by that is ultimately you're bringing your higher self into your being. And I think this is when you can start accessing, remote viewing, telepathy, telekinesis, those kind of things, right? And of course, bringing the spirit into the body is going to be a much more difficult process. However, once you've reached ascension, it's not that difficult. Don't try to bring your spirit into your body before you've ascended, because if you do, what you're going to do is you're going to activate an archetype in your brain. I mean, everything is mathematics, right? Everything is mathematics, and so here's what happens to a lot of people who practice occult science and things like that. They try to descend a spirit into their body first. They try to, bring a spirit into their body first, right? And when you understand how consciousness works, and it's kind of all connected and all fluid, it's very easy for something that's not necessarily you to inhabit you, right? And what I mean by that, it's not, it's like think of a demonic possession, right? It's almost like a demonic possession, but these are simply, routes that you're thinking takes, and through understanding these particular things, you force your brain to follow these paths, and it activates an archetypal loop, based on what the loop has been since the beginning of time, because we carry the history of our existence in our DNA, right? So everything that's ever been learned or burned into our any type of loop, all the loops are accessible in its and what I mean by loops are kind of like guides for the way your brain thinks, right? Jesus is a loop, Buddha is a loop, right? All these, but there's also destructive loops. There's creative loops, destructive loops, and chaotic loops. Most occult is chaotic loops, because through creating chaos in the universe, as if you attain self-mastery, you can create a lot of chaos in the universe and be fine. Essentially walk on water, so to speak, right? That's why occult sciences and occult beliefs are so popular, because it's all you're doing is adding more chaos and protecting yourself more, which I don't think is the right way to do things, right? I avoid destruction and chaos magic, and I try to focus only on creation magic as part of my own intuitively led system. So understanding your intuition is paramount. As you start to ascend, you'll be introduced to new concepts. These concepts will be tempting, exciting, but overall distracting. Because if you really want to attain some superhuman abilities, you have to descend. You have to bring your spiritual body into your flesh, right? That's the only way to really, command space and time in the way that you probably want to, right? And like I said, the good thing is, once you ascend, you're at the mercy of the higher laws, and the higher laws aren't going to give you something that they know you're going to abuse, right? And so I definitely encourage that all this be used for creation magic only. It's a much better path. You do because you have to understand the science behind it, which is the quantum mechanics and how what you reap is what you sow. So that energy will come back to you. Like most people have to continue to do destruction or chaos magic to run from the results, to run from their cause and effect. Right? That's what they're doing. They're running from their cause and effect. Right? Because in order to change your life, you have to go through that energy. Right? You have to revisit all this energy. So if you've put a bunch of destruction magic out there, and now you're like all of a sudden, oh man, this is too much. I don't want to do this destruction magic anymore. And you try to go back. Well, guess what? You've got to welcome all that destruction back into your life. So you've got to be ready to. And that's the thing is most of us engage in chaos magic in our daily lives and don't even realize it because of religion. All religions have been twisted and turned into chaos magic. All right, but if you look at all the religions and look at them strictly from a creation magic standpoint, you will see great strides. Your intuition will be tested in this process. You're going, no matter how no matter how honed you think you have it, your intuition will definitely be tested. So take it slow. Understand yourself. Understand what you truly want out of life, and focus on that goal. And that way you can really understand. As you come across certain opportunities or anything like that, you can take the proper notes on what your intuition was telling you, right? And just fully understand that. And a big key is embracing change. So embracing change, so here's some things to expect. Tons of emotional stress. You could lose a lot of friends. You could lose some loved ones. A lot of your family might understand some of the things you feel and need to do for your own health, mental health. Losing friends, like the right people will end up back in your life when you as you ascend into higher vibration frequencies. So understand that what you're doing is moving to new frequencies in your quantum experience, so to speak. And when you're doing that, you're leaving people behind, but they're going to be still there. Like you're going to feel disconnected. You might feel disconnected from your wife because she's not on the same vibrational frequency as you. Right? So you could, get really disconnected. But this is a time to embrace the loneliness. Right? Your higher self needs you to be alone for this because it doesn't want you to create chaos. Because if your emotions aren't under control, some of this stuff can really throw you for a loop. So it's good to have someone that understands the creation side of life that can help you tune your intuition to move in the right direction. Think of it as a game with really, really advanced puzzles. Right? Is that all you're doing is trying to figure out puzzles at this point? Like you don't know anything, right? I don't know anything. I'm still figuring out puzzles. I'm telling you that this is a good way to start figuring out some of the puzzles in your own life. So, in order to do this, you need to set your ground rules, right? You got to set rules for you, your higher self, and you have to understand the ground rules of the world, the universe that we live in. I'll start at the world and work our way back, right? So the world, understand the laws of the land. God is math and the rules of the universe. It's all the cosmological constants. Nothing is going to, interfere, so to speak. You will get opportunities, and you will think, wow, this opportunity must be from God. But it was your higher self, or your quantum self, creating quantum possibilities, and you're able to look and you're able to fall into those synchronizations and realize what those synchronizations are, right? I recommend understanding the 7 Hermetic principles of Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus, whoever it is. They want to give credit to. Basically, it's the 7 Hermetic principles. The Kybalion. Read the Kybalion. Kybalion, something like that. Your higher self, you need to trust your higher self, and it needs to trust you. The universe is highly mathematical, so there's nothing supernatural about any of this. It's just simply recognizing what rules apply to which plane of existence, and you exist through all of them, and they all the rules are like flip flopped as you go down. It's the funniest thing. It's a good fail safe, really. When you really start to understand this, you understand just how really freaking amazingly thought out this system was, right? Quantum mechanics. Like, quantum mechanics is an amazingly, insanely intelligent system, right? Like, our lives are highly intelligent systems. Like, these systems in our brain, how we think, like, amazing fail safes. Like, this is the thing, is like, there are fail safes built in that keep you from, going straight to the goal, right? So this is a maze, this is a puzzle, right? And it's your own personal puzzle that you have to figure out. But if you can figure out yourself, it makes everything else easier, right? So part of this, setting the rules for you, right? It's like, all right, I'm going to, only do this in this situation, right? So I know personally a lot of things that distract me, so I set a lot of rules around that. So, for instance, I do a lot of fasting. Anything that you can do to take more control of yourself, I would recommend, right? Because the setting the ground rules is going to be important to knowing what your higher self is trying to tell you, and you have to be open to the possibility that what you want is more than what you're thinking you want, right? And it's like, wow, I didn't realize this was going to happen. So keeping an open mind is paramount. That's why I say set rules and set systems for your life instead of setting beliefs, because you're going to see a lot of things that you don't quite understand, and you're going to encounter concepts that are real that you're like, oh, I didn't think this was real. This is crazy, right? So from once you set your rules, you can kind of start experimenting, right? One of my experiments, I'll give you an example. I decided, I said, I want to live my life like this, right? I want to make videos. I want to engage art more. So I'm building a life around how I want to live on my day to day, how I want each of my moments to be, right? I'm not, I've taken a self-mastery path that led me through, a lot of the Eastern concepts of eliminating desires and things like that. So, I still practice a lot of that, and have since developed some, I have desires to help, which is, just natural, I think. And so, the key to advancing in supernatural abilities is incremental increases in your faith. So you're not trying to swim with alligators or walk into a burning building based on faith alone and saying, I'm going to survive. I'm not saying maybe you can do that one day. I think, like I said, I definitely think, if you can master your vibrations, you can definitely swim with alligators, because I think, all of these animals are vibrational creatures, and, I'm not saying go do this, but I'm saying, is it possible? Probably, yeah, because people swim with alligators all the time, because they don't activate that vibration of fear that automatically activates the alligator's vibration of fear, right? Oh, Cliff, that's science. That's a cause and effect. I'm afraid, and they have extrasensory perceptions because they're animals, and they can detect that fear because it's a vibrational frequency, right? They detect that frequency, and it's afraid. That must mean I'm the predator, and that must mean I can, that must be food. Let me eat it, or it feels your intentions of, So I would recommend, if you're going to play with animals in this aspect and try to, become like an animal intuitive, is practice with smaller, more friendly animals first. But like I said, possibilities are endless, right? remote viewing, telepathy, but you have to, you have to ascend, and then you have to bring your soul into your body, and then you'll start, being able to experiment even more. So, like I said, it's a path. It's a personal path. It's, you've got to really learn it, but it's all about experimentation, right? The same way you would experiment with your intuition is going to be the same way you experiment with creating your own reality. And you got to understand, it's not necessarily, I can communicate everything effectively, right? Because you may not know yourself enough to know what you want, and if you don't know yourself enough to know what you want, you're going to go in circles, right? So I highly recommend, fully understanding yourself, right? Because I've gotten things that I've wanted and realized, well, this isn't really what I wanted. I thought it was what I wanted, but it's not, and it's just wasted time, right? So when you start, but it's good. I think it's maybe a good thing for people to see that they can attain these things and create their own reality. It's just you've got to be careful, hands down. Be careful, right? Because don't let your ego, like, that's the big thing. Your ego will, get so inflated that it'll make you want to, run into a burning building because you're gonna, like, look how powerful I am. Don't do that, right? You are powerful, but you have no idea how powerful you are, and you don't even know how to access it yet. So be careful. Don't get ahead of yourself, right? Just take it slow, and you'll start to because once you start to see how you can control yourself, then you can control the outside, right? What you control your inside to control how you react to the outside world. The more you control the inside, the more you understand how the outside is controlled, right? And then you have to really understand vibrations, frequencies, all that stuff. Educate yourself, right? Read some Lao Tzu, read some Carl Jung. I read a lot of Carl Jung because of my mental illness aspect. So if you know what your weaknesses are, you can fight them with education, right? You can fight your weaknesses with education, understand what your weaknesses really are, right? And it's just a miseducation. Your weaknesses are only miseducation of yourself, right? That's all your weaknesses are. It's a simple miseducation of yourself. So, I've seen amazing results from these experiments, but, you have to personalize it. It's not something that you can just, you can train and you'll be able to do, some simple things like remote viewing, maybe some basic, telepathy or whatever, some very, very simple telepathy by just tuning into vibrations, right? But this is heavy stuff, and it can be dangerous. So be careful and build a support system. Join the Telegram group, or I don't know. I'll have to start a group somewhere, like maybe on Facebook or something. I don't know, but we have to. We need to support each other. I'm working with a mystery school, and if you're interested in joining the mystery school, this is all they do. Is experiment and study and focus on the lost knowledge of humans, which I think we're coming into grasp with in this age, and it's going to be an amazing time, right? And we're going to need people on the right side of things, right? Because they've already been using the wrong side of things for millennia, right? So, it's important that you do this the right way, in my opinion. Right? Don't follow the quick and easy path, right? It's not worth it, because there are fail safes built into this, and you really have to prove your worthiness to attain some of these abilities. And a lot of people are naturally, good people, right? Intuitively good, right? So to speak, and they can attain these things. And I think if the more mentally healthy you are, the more you can hone your intuition, just to realize what's going on in your own body, right? This is, like I said, understand your intuition and be careful. Thanks.